My name is Patrick Linfante, and 5 years ago today, I woke up in a hospital bed, and my entire life had changed. As I was being wheeled down the hallway into the operating room, I had no comprehension of where I was or what had happened. Little did I know, my first, fourth, and fifth vertebrae had been fractured, and I had a very long road to recovery in front of me. So what happened? Well, I made the mistake that everyone warns you about growing up. I got into the driver's seat of a vehicle while I was intoxicated. I have zero recollection of what had happened that night. What I do know from what the police told me is that I was thrown 60 feet from my car while it flipped 4 to 5 times before coming to rest on its roof. After coming out of surgery, I'm wheeled down the hallway into a room with my mother and several dear friends. Over the next few days, I'm left with my thoughts. I'm staying in a hospital where my friends and family wrote, called, and visited me. As I sat there with a brace from my neck to my waist, all I could think is what happened. What happened was that life was different, and I was the luckiest man ever. I was told flat out by the cops and by doctors that I should not only be paralyzed, but I shouldn't even be alive. Somehow, despite my vertebrae being fractured, nothing moved. None of these bones displaced, not even a few millimeters, for if they did, I'd be faced with an even more difficult life. Today marks the 5-year anniversary of this tragic mistake that I made. So why am I sharing this with you? What am I seeking to do with this information? My goal is awareness. I have learned an enormous amount about life through this experience, and I wish to share that with others. I wish to pass on the perspective that I have learned by traveling down a road that I wouldn't wish anyone else to travel down. I've struggled every single day of my life for the past 5 years in some way, shape, or form. I will never be back to normal. I'll never be able to turn my head like the rest of you. I have pain and stiffness on a very regular basis, but that pales in comparison to the fate that I have avoided. I have accomplished a tremendous amount in the past 5 years, and I am very proud of how far I've been able to turn my life around. I wish to share this with all of you because it is my life's purpose to make people aware of how much greater a person they are than they think that they are. I wish to inspire everyone to realize that it is never too late. It is never too late to get up and say, now's the time to change. Now is the time I look forward instead of backwards. It is never too late to recover from a misstep that you take in your life. I have come an extremely long distance from a very dark place, and today I can smile. Today I can wake up and be thankful for every single thing that I have. Today I can choose to continue this amazing journey that I'm currently on. So what can you do in 5 years? What have I done in this past 5 years? First, I survived. I'm able to stand here and speak in front of you. I'm able to take care of myself. At the time, my mother waited on me hand and foot, got me out of bed in the morning, fed me, bathed me, put me back to bed at the end of the night. My days consisted of 16 hours sitting on a couch, just to go back and go to sleep for another 8 hours. For months. In addition to my neck, I lacerated every tendon in my left arm, rendering me completely useless for months. And after a few of these months, I began physical therapy. I remember the first day that I can lift my arm, and what an accomplishment it felt like. It took about a year for me to even feel anywhere near what I felt like before the accident. And almost a year to the day, I moved 2 hours south to Jamesburg, New Jersey. This is the first time I left my house after college. I lived with two people that had become a tremendous amount of influence in my life. Joey and Jenny Craparata took me into their home and allowed me to live with them and their children. I also continued an internship at Area Studios, where I received a ton of experience in a wide range of business, communication, and music. The owners offered me a place to find myself. They offered me hope and a dream for the future. As time passed, it was evident that I have to eventually move on and find something more substantial in my life. Slowly, I gained a few part-time jobs. I waited tables at Chili's. I also was a part-time teller at PNC Bank. And in the summer of 2012, I embarked on the first musical tour in my life. This was the goal I had for over a decade. With my then current band, My Bitter End, we toured the East Coast and had a blast doing so. By doing this, I would have to sacrifice my job at PNC. This was a sacrifice I was willing to take. When I arrived home, I switched to another restaurant, Buffalo Wild Wings. This was a strategic move to start because after 2 years after the accident, I was then having my license suspended. So I bought a bike and rode my bike 10 miles each way to work, about 100 miles a week, for 3 months. So for the foreseeable future, I would serve there, which then eventually led to me being promoted to a bartender. During this time, I had moved into another house with roommates that I have met off Craigslist. It actually turned out to be one of the single best living situations I've ever had in my entire life. After a year and a half there, I finally moved into my very own first apartment. For the first time, I was completely on my own. That was last June, and for the past 11 months, I have really found myself. I have found a confidence that I never knew that I had. And as I reflect on my past, so much makes sense. So many things that just happened now make sense. And with this awareness, I've been able to grow into the person that I always knew that I was. Some of the other details from the past 5 years of my life include doing another East Coast tour. I bought a Subaru WRX. I went snowboarding tons of times. I owned a motorcycle. I flew out to California to go to NAMM. I was endorsed by Legator Guitars, DR Strings, and I even had a chance with Warwick Basses. I bowled a 300. I witnessed my sister get engaged and buy a house. I witnessed my brother get married and buy a house. I performed in several bass solo competitions. I won an iPad from a sales contest at Buffalo Wild Wings. I met Victor Wooten, who is one of my all-time greatest inspirations, along with many other celebrities from all walks of life. I attended several weddings from all kinds of friends. I even picked up golfing. So much for the past. What does the next 5 years look like? I have a large amount of aspirations. I've begun a career in real estate, which I'm looking to grow exponentially. I have goals to write a book and launch a motivational speaking career. I will find a home. I will find a wife and settle down. And most of all, I will travel. I will see everything that I possibly can, and I'll speak to everyone that I possibly can. So how long is 5 years? What can you accomplish in 5 years? If anyone is interested in talking to me or having me speak in front of an audience, please reach out to me. I'm an extremely open person, and my goal in life is to connect with as many people as possible. I thank you greatly for taking the time out of your busy life to share these accomplishments with me. I am also truly thankful for everyone that has come into my life and supported me in ways that you may not even realize. In conclusion, do not drink and drive. I have to deal with this mistake for every waking moment for the rest of my life. And I'm one of the lucky few who actually get to live the rest of my life. I'm lucky enough not to have anyone else involved in this, and I'm the only one that suffers. This has been bad enough, and I can't even imagine the remorse I'd feel if someone else had been involved. and I hurt that person. So please plan your nights accordingly. It is simply not worth it. You will get caught eventually, and I can only hope that you're the only one that has to deal with those consequences, regardless of what those may be. Thank you for taking the time with me. Please, don't drink and drive.